most people, the word orgasm always means sexuality, but that's not the fact. Essentially, an orgasm means an internalized ecstatic state. It is being used generally in language with relation to sexuality because unfortunately, for most people, they have known no other experience bigger than the physical intensity of sexuality, probably. Most people have not even known anything more than that. So they have started using the word orgasm for sexuality. The word orgasm means much more than that your whole organism has reached a certain peak. Sexuality doesn't do that. It gives you a certain sense of peak, but it doesn't take you to an absolute peak where every cell in your body will burst. So, it is… sexuality or sex is an inadequate activity to be described as an orgasm. It's inadequate. It is just that when physically one reaches a certain state of ecstasy, there is a limitation. But once one knows how to be orgasmic without the need of the physicality, then it's a perpetual orgasm. In India, we have a better word for this. We call this Ananda. Ananda is orgasmic. We described God as an orgasm. We said God is Ananda, Brahmananda. So when we say Brahmananda, what we are saying is, what you refer to as God is an ultimate orgasm. Essentially, the only thing that a human being is looking for is ultimate state of pleasantness. He calls it kingdom of God, he calls it heaven, he calls it whatever. Essentially, he is looking for an ultimate orgasm. He is not looking for anything else. So God has been described as Ananda, or God has been described as orgasm. Orgasm is not a sufficient word. Ananda is saying that thing in a much bigger way than the word orgasm says it. So in the East we called God as Ananda. Ultimate orgasm is God. If you want to settle for limited things, you can try sexuality, alcohol, drug. It will only enslave you, it doesn't liberate you. Because this is not Ananda, this is just pleasure. Pleasure is always entangling. People seek pleasure essentially because joy is missing, because bliss is missing. If you are blissful, you would definitely not seek pleasure, isn't it so? If you're right now really blissful, would you seek pleasure? Pleasure is just a shadow of blissfulness. It is never the real thing. It just gives you a shadow. But when you have not known the real thing, even a shadow will do. I'm not against it, but if you do not realize the limitation of pleasure, you will get entangled in it. The more and more you seek pleasure, the more and more you get entangled to the objects of pleasure. But the more and more blissful you become, the more and more you become free from everything. When you're truly blissful, nothing is needed. No food is needed, no sleep is needed, even life is not needed. Actually, when you're truly blissful, you're willing to die. Please see this. Only that one who is constantly willing to die every moment of his life, only that one will know life.
The disciple Janak went to the Master Ashtavakra and asked him, "O Master, how can I attain liberation? How can I become free of all limitations?" The Master Ashtavakra replied, "Yadi deham prithikritya chitivishramyatistasi adhunaiva sukhi shanto bandhamukto bhavishyasi. The Master said, if you detach yourself from your body, if you detach yourself from your mind and recognize your real nature as pure consciousness, you will then at once be free from the terrible bondage of body and mind and become supremely blissful at this very moment. Just try to understand the significance of what the Master Ashtavakra said. He didn't say that you would become free in the future after a certain period of time. No, he didn't say that. He said, just dissociate, just disidentify from your body and mind, and you will at once become free and happy. See, that is the key to the treasure that exists within you all. That is the key to the treasure which is you, yourself. You are that treasure. But because of this strong identification with body and mind, you don't feel inclined to inquire within yourself about the reality that exists within this little limited body-mind complex. The moment you start throwing the light of inquiry within yourself by asking within yourself, who I really am I really this body which keeps changing every fraction of a second? Am I really this mind which fluctuates every bit of a second? Am I really these thoughts and emotions? When you start inquiring within yourself like this, then the gap happens between this body-mind complex and the real you. But you need to be persistent in your efforts. Remember, the only thing that prevents you from knowing the truth of your divine, infinite nature is your unwillingness to inquire within yourself. See, truth is always present. You are always the divine infinite being. You are always the divine infinite being, and that you will always be. But this ignorance about your true nature can come to an end only when you want to know the truth. Until you make that decision to know yourself beyond this body-mind complex, this ignorance will continue to exist. You will have to consciously work upon this. Spiritual evolution is a conscious work. In the external world, the forms evolved, and you have the most perfect form, which is the human form. It cannot evolve further. Nature has done its work. It cannot evolve the human form further. Now from here, it's totally your responsibility. It's completely in your hands now, whether you want to remain bound by the limitations of this human form, or you want to go beyond it and experience your boundless, infinite nature. It's completely up to you. It's totally your call. Even the greatest spiritual master cannot make you an enlightened being. He can at the most show you the way, but you will have to consciously work upon it. You have to now take the responsibility upon your shoulders and start working towards your spiritual evolution. If you really remain sincere on the spiritual path, then that day is not far when you will realize the truth of these teachings. When you will know yourself as you truly are, as the divine, infinite being pervading the entire cosmos. See, all the spiritual practices, all the meditations that you do are nothing but the preparation for that moment when you will experience yourself beyond this body-mind complex. And this preparation is, absolutely necessary, because without this preparation, if you get to know yourself, then it will completely freak you out. It can completely dismantle your whole physical system. So you really need to prepare yourself, and soon that auspicious moment will arrive when you will experience yourself as you truly are, beyond the body, beyond the mind, as the blissful infinite being.